I'd like to call this meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council to order, and we'll have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Darian Guidry. Please rise.
Dear God, please hang on. Yep. Dear God, be with us today as we deliberate the matters before us. Help us make the decisions as they affect our parish, our state, and our nation. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I please get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Babin, Mr. Dirk Guidry, Mr. Trusclair, Mr. Pleasure, Mr. Harding, Mr. Michelle, Mr. Amity, Ms. Domain,
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry. Ms. Chairwoman, you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Approve the minutes of the regular council session held on July 26, 2023. Moved by Mr. Danny Babin and second by Mr. Brian Pleasure. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Distribute the minutes of the regular council session held on August 9th, 2023. Approve accounts payable list for 8/14/2023 and 8/21/2023. Moved by Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Second.
Second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas, motion passes. Approve the manual checklist for July 2023. Moved by Mr. Darren Guidry.
Second.
Second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas, motion passes. Item 1, general business. A proclamation proclaiming the month of September 2023 as Bayou Pearls Month in Terrebonne Parish. Mr. Carl Harding.
Good evening. It gives me pleasure in reading this. It says, the city of Houma, parish of Terrebonne, a proclamation. Whereas the Terrebonne Parish Council would like to recognize the recent chartering of the Bayou Pearls, the newest graduate chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and whereas the Bayou Pearls was founded as a sisterhood with a mission to provide community support to several program areas, and while cultivating and encouraging academic and ethical standards, and whereas the Bayou Pearls will provide its members opportunity to participate in programs that would enhance the social, economic, and educational well-being of their communities, and whereas the Bayou Pearls will also serve as role models in their communities while pursuing one of their core missions of the sorority to be of service to all mankind. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the Terrebonne Parish President and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that September 2023 be hereby recognized as Bayou Pearls Month in Terrebonne Parish, and that the chapter be congratulated on its chartering and wishes good luck in its mission and of the change education advocating while staying true to the sorority's motto by culture, by merit. Presented this day, the 23rd day of August 2023. It was signed by President Gordon Dove, Council Chair Jessica Domain. Thank you. Could y'all come forward, please?
Thank you, Mr. Harding. And when will the ladies please come up to the mic and accept this award?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for
Thank you.
Stay front.
Okay.
Wait till I get back up.
Okay.
please introduce yourself.
Tanya Harris, and I want to say thank you to Mr. Carly for allowing this, and thank you, Council, as well, for signing off on it as well. The Bayou Pearls have worked feverishly to get this done. It's been a journey, but certainly we know and understand the impact of strengthening our communities. So thank you for your continued support, and we hope to see you at our chartering on Saturday, August 26th. If you need tickets, just reach out to Carly. He'll be there. Thank you so much.
All right, don't go too far. We have a few lights. Mr. Brian Pledger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to congratulate you guys again on all the efforts that you guys put forward here in Terrebonne Parish. And I really, really encourage you guys to keep doing what you're doing because it is beneficial to Terrebonne Parish and the state of Louisiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pledger.
Thank you, and we all appreciate everything you guys do. And not only do you do all the great philanthropy work you do, you also volunteer for so many different organizations, and we volunteer as well for a lot of organizations. And every time I'm at an event, you guys are at an event too. And so it's just nice to always see your faces and know that you are part of the fabric that makes this community so great. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Council.
Item B, discussion for informal purposes relative to the State Fire Marshal's statewide burden ban issued August 7, 2023, due to concerning dry conditions. Mr. Danny Babin.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. I put this on the agenda for a number of reasons. This is a good forum to be able to get this out to the public, but we are in a statewide burn ban at this particular time. Now, that doesn't mean barbecue and hamburgers in your backyard. It means burning things that in a field or whatever. Right now in Terrebonne Parish, there's numerous marsh fires going on. Some of them in the district that I represent have been really causing a problem in the Mulberry, but mostly Plantation Garden, Terra Cane, Cottonwood Drive area. We were back there this afternoon, the Black Fire Department and myself, and there's a marsh fire that we cannot get to put out, or the fire department, I should say, cannot get to put out. But yet, because of the prevailing winds, is bringing that smoke into these houses. So again, I put this on here just to make everybody aware that the danger with these 100-degree temperatures, it doesn't take any more than a four-wheeler riding through a brown area marsh for the heat off the muffler to ignite a fire. And the houses behind these subdivisions are pretty well insulated from any damage from a fire because there is a lot of water around it, but the smoke has been horrendous. I sent Mr. Pledger a picture he couldn't get over. It literally looked like fog Saturday morning at about 7 o'clock with the amount of smoke that was back there. So please, I'm just urging, and I know there's some in the Bayou Blue area too, because John Amadei and I spoke about that they smelled smoke at their house. I'm just wanting everybody to be aware, we have 100-degree temperatures outside. We hadn't had rain since, 1999 maybe, okay? And people are out there doing foolish things by lighting fires. It is a criminal offense when we have a statewide burn ban, and it could be a civil offense as well if somebody's house burnt down. So please just be super cautious with what we're experiencing right now in the parish. And if you see something like that, first and foremost, call the fire department first and then get in touch with the either sheriff's office or HPD. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Dove.
Yeah, and I'd like to reiterate exactly what he just said. There is a statewide burn ban and a parish burn ban. It does have statewide state criminal statutes with it. And if a fire starts, and heaven forbid, especially someone gets hurt, someone's in trouble, and so we're asking the public, please do not set any fires. Don't do anything that could ignite fires. The timber is dry. We are swamp parish. We have a lot of swamps and water, but everything's dry. I'm walking through swamps right now with tennis shoes that you used to need boots on. So please do not burn anything for the sake. We have it on our website. We have it all over the place, but we're asking, please do not. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Item C, rescinding the condemnation order adopted on July 25th, 5th, 2023, on 2 residential structures and accessory structure located at 113 Vera Street, Houma, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. John Amity, a second by Mr. Carl Harding. Members, vote your machines. Motion passes. Item 2, public wishes to address the council. I don't have any speaker cards. We have a motion to deviate and go to committee reports by Mr. Steve Trosclair and a second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas. We're going to deviate to committee reports. Item 3, committee reports. Public Services Committee, Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Service Committee held on August 21st, 2023, and I have no public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Carl Harding and a second by Mr. John Amity. Sorry, we have a motion by Mr. Carl Harding and a second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas. Motion passes. Item B, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Dirk Guidry.
I'll make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Budget and Finance Committee meeting held on August 21st, 2023, and I have 2 public hearings. Number 1, given notice of intent to adopt an ordinance to declare as surplus a tax property located at 113 Daisy Street, adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, and to acquire authorization to dispose of said property in accordance with LARS 47:2196, and call a public hearing on said matter on September 13, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. And the second one, giving notice of intent to amend the 2023 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government of the following items and to provide for related matters. Number 1, animal shelter, $21,014. Rotary Plaza, $26,776. Houma Police Department Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant, $12,934. Houma Police Department LCLE Grant, $18,012. Bayou Boardwalk, $60,000, and calling a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, September 13, 2023 at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Dirk Guidry and a second. We have a motion by Mr. Dirk Guidry and a second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Mr. John Amity, Community Development and Planning Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on August 21st, 2023, and I have no public hearings.
We have a motion by Mr. Amity and a second by Mr. Trosclair. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Item 4, streetlights. As per by Mr. Dirk Guidry, second by Mr. Brian Pledger. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas, motion passes. Item 5, appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District Number 6 Board, 1 expired term. Mr. Carlos J. Alario expresses his interest to be reappointed.
Second.
Motion to open, close, and reappoint by Mr. Steve Trosclair, a second by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas. Congratulations to Mr. Alario. Item 6, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions. Recreation District Number 2-3 Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Recreation District Number 6 Board, 1 expired term. TITA, 1 expiring term on 9/9/2023, representing the Parish Council, and 2 expired terms. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 3 vacancies due to resignations. Planning and Zoning Commission, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Veterans Memorial District, 3 expired terms on 9/17/2023, and 1 vacancy due to resignation. Announcements. Parish President, Mr. Dove, do you have any announcements? I'm sorry, we're going to go back to, you want to go back to vacancies? Okay, all right. We're going to go back to Mr. Steve Trosclair on the Veterans Memorial vacancy. Mr. Trosclair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to recognize the members of the Veterans Memorial District that are here tonight. These guys do a really great job in maintaining the museum and other aspects of the veterans' functions and things that go on in the parish. So once again, I really appreciate everything you guys do, and I thank y'all for coming to our meeting. I understand we're gonna be voting on for some members on our next meeting. So, but it's really good to see y'all here, and thanks, and keep up the good work. Thanks.
Mr. Duff.
Yes, I do have a great announcement. After about 11 years, the levy board, Tony Alford, Reggie Dupre, our state delegation, too many people to speak of. We are now advertising for bids for the $300 million Houma lock system. It will be advertised for 90 days and awarded. The importance of this lock system is to keep, when there's a southeast wind or a tide coming in, it keeps salt water out. It allows vessels to come and go during a storm or during a heavy wind or during a hurricane to an extent. This has been a lot of a concerted effort on so many people, and I thank everyone and the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish. It's $300 million, which is funded with Restore Act money from the BP fines that we were able to acquire about 11 years ago. And so it's got the building, it's got the Corps of Engineers permits, all necessary permits, and it is out on the street as of Monday for advertising for bids. So congratulations and great job to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duff. Is there any announcements by the Terrebonne Parish Council members? Yes, we do. Okay. Mr. Babin.
Yes, thank you. I have a question for Ms. Candace, but I just wanted to mention something before. Today, Rec 9 down in By Black had something terrible happen to him. Mr. John Hastings, who was the director for the gym and for all of Rec 9, passed away this morning. He was a terrific man, did a great job with Rec 9, and he will be missed. Also, in that same area, I had a long talk with Mr. Billy Sinak today, who is trying to clear some lilies in Miners Canal for us, and with a small tugs that he had. He called me today to say that 4 individuals from the subdivision put 4 mud boats together with some 2x4s, 4x4s, 4x6s, whatever they used, and they pushed all the lilies out. If you go there right now, it literally is passable for the first time in a long time. So I know the people in the area are happy with that. Is it going to stay away? I don't know that. But right now, it is passable by boat. And just the third thing, I knew Ms. Candace was meeting with, or speaking to FEMA today, and just wanted an update on the Buquet Bridge down in Dulac, if you could.
Ms. Malden.
Yes, thank you. So we had a meeting today. The FEMA review of the Buquet Bridge is going through the final review process. They have agreed with our repair costs and replacement costs and all of that. We will move forward with repairs on the bridge, but with a full replacement of the lift span of the bridge. So it's not completely approved yet. It's not finished the review process, but we're pretty comfortable that they're going to move forward in that process. It'll be about a $10 million project, and we're moving forward with our task order for the engineers to start designing that.
That's great news. But it's the first step in getting it moving, so that's wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Malden.
Thank you, Ms. Candace. Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes. Not really to ditto Mr. Danny Babin in reference to Pastor Hastings. He not only was the manager of Rec 9, he was the pastor of the Pleasant View Baptist Church. He was a friend of mine. He was a father, and recently was at his church, and it was in full bloom. And I ask that those that are listening and those that can tell someone else to keep not only his family but his church family in prayer. We kind of grew up together in the same block, so it's difficult, but we're not here forever. So therefore, those that are here, remember that those are going on in their lives and their prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. Mr. Dirk Gidry.
Yeah, just a quick deal about the Gordy. These two lock systems that we're getting put on the Houma Navigational Canal. This finally seals up all of Terrebonne Parish from any kind of waters intruding into Terrebonne Parish. So this is a great deal for Terrebonne Parish, a $300 million project. It looks like FEMA's finally coming on board and going to help us out a little bit. So, and another thing I want to say is, please, guys, the shrimpers need y'all help down these bayous. They are suffering. Yesterday, there's a shrimp dock down the bayou, told all that shrimpers to come in because they're going to quit buying shrimp. This is the heart of the shrimp season right now. There's a factory down in Grand Kaya. 10, 15 shrimp was a shrimp this long. The shrimp boats are getting 60 cents a pound. Anything from a 40, 50 count shrimp to a 10, 15 count shrimp, they are getting 60 cents for everything across the board, you know? So these guys are hurting. Fuel prices are up to $3.60 a gallon. These guys need help. I mean, I know we wrote a little resolution and all, but we need to get people to go down these bayous because this is where Terrebonne Parish was born, on the seafood industry. And our seafood industry, the crabbing, the oystering, it's all going downhill so fast. And you know, this is not just a down the bayou problem, because all the millions of dollars that these shrimp boats bring in every year make their way to Houma, Louisiana. So if you don't believe that it's going to hurt the businesses in Terrebonne Parish, you're sadly mistaken, because it will. Because, like I said, all these millions they make, they just don't stay down the bayous. They come up the bayous. So if you can get a nice chest and go down and help these guys out, the big boats, the big shrimp boats, it's over with for them. And say if nothing changes as of right now, it's over for all these big shrimp boats, and all we're going to have is skiffs shrimping in our waters. So we need to go out and help them. I got a friend that just came in. They caught 400 boxes of shrimp, which is 40,000 pounds of shrimp. Okay? They had $15,000 worth of expenses. The boat made $6,000 in 20 days. We can't keep surviving on that. If they have one breakdown, if the starter goes out or something, a clutch goes out on that boat, they in the hole for 20 days, you know? So, but we need to go out. Well, I mean, and I'm stressing, I'm repeating myself, Danny, you told me not to repeat myself so many times, but go down and help these fishermen. They are suffering and they need help. We need to get help out of Baton Rouge. We need to get help out of Washington, but we need to get help from these people because, I mean, this is the bread and butter of Terrebonne Parish. If the shrimpers don't make no money, they're not going to Martin Luther King and spend no money. They have no money. Our restaurants will suffer. Our drugstores will suffer. Our grocery stores will suffer. Everybody's going to suffer with this. The newspapers, everybody. So I'm going to beg again, please go out and help these fishermen because they're on their last leg right now. Believe me, when I tell you this is the truth. They are on their last leg. Somebody needs to kick Washington in the butt, this Trade Commission, and either put tariffs on all these fishermen, on all these imported shrimps coming into this country, test the shrimp because it's full of antibiotic steroids, they're poisoning our people. We need to get something done about this. But the big thing is to limit imports coming into our country. All these big freezers, I'm talking freezers where you drive 18-wheelers in, they're full. The foreigners come in and they bought all these big freezer units, and there's no place for the American man to put his shrimp in because the freezers are full of imported shrimps. You know, we're losing factories after factories. We have no place to process our shrimps because there's not enough money involved in the shrimp industry anymore, the wild-caught shrimp industry. So whatever y'all can do to go out there, I know I'm rattling on for a little while, but we got 4 minutes till the 6:30 time being, so I'm gonna talk for a little while. But yo, please go out and help these fishermen, guys. They're suffering. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Gidry. Mr. Gerald Michel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I don't have to remind anybody how hot it is outside, okay? But just be aware of how long you're staying outside, protect your health, keep an eye on your neighbors, especially the elderly, and just protect yourself from this brutal heat. And also for all those who are able, please go out and give blood if you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michel. Mr. Danny Babin.
I'm sorry, one thing I forgot, and it goes along with Dirk saying, if you want to help the shrimpers and also help two organizations, this Friday, Finding Our Roots is having a shrimp boil that everyone can go buy a ticket for. It's $12 a plate. Also, by the large, fire department is having a shrimp ball. So that in turn will help the shrimpers out. So please patronize both of these organizations that are doing this stuff this week, this Friday. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. And we had qualifying come up a couple weeks ago, and I saw you light after. But I just want to congratulate our colleagues up here, Mr. John Amity and Mr. Carl Harding, for going unopposed. You guys work so hard and so diligently, and it absolutely shows. And we're just so proud of you guys and so proud of the work that you're going to be doing in the next 4 years. Also want to congratulate Mr. Kevin Champon, who went unopposed as your District 5 representative, who will be taking my place here up on the council. So just wanted to give you guys a shout out and the respect that you deserve.
Thank you.
Mr. Trosclair.
Yeah, I just want to expound a little bit on Mr. Babin. South Terrebonne also is having a shrimp ball Friday. Thank you.
So there's going to be lots of shrimp boils this weekend in Terrebonne Parish. So everybody go get some shrimp and support our local seafood industry.
Motion to go back into regular order and recess till 6:30 public hearings.
Second.
We have a motion to recess by Mr. John Amity, a second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. Members, vote your machines. We will go into a 4-minute recess. Thank you. We have a motion to go back in regular order by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, 6:30 public hearing. Item A, an ordinance to declare as surplus 17 tax properties adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and to acquire authorization to dispose of said properties in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47, 2196. Sorry. The break got me, y'all. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. Nine yeas. Motion to adopt by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas. Motion is adopted. Item B, an ordinance to declare as surplus 5 tax properties adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government in which the parish has a percentage interest and to acquire authorization to dispose of said properties in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47:2196. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas. Motion to adopt by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas. Motion passes. Item C, an ordinance to declare as surplus tax property adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government in which the parish has 3.7% interest and to acquire authorization to dispose of the said property in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47:2196. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. Dirk Gidry, second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas.
Motion to adopt.
I'm sorry. We have motion to adopt by Mr. Dirk Gidry. I'm in a rush. Second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas. Motion passes. Item D, an ordinance to declare as surplus a tax property adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government in which the parish has 0.24% interest and to acquire authorization to dispose of said property in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47:2196. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Darren Gidry. Members, vote your machines. Public is closed. Motion to adopt by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Darren Gidry. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Item E, an ordinance to declare as surplus 2 tax properties adjudicated to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government in which the parish has a percentage interest and to acquire authorization to dispose of said property in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47:2196. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion closed by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. Members, vote your machines. Public is closed. Mr. Steve Trosclair, would you like to speak on this item?
Why does this one not have the percentages listed? It just says a percentage that the parish actually has. I looked in the backup and I couldn't see anything there either.
I don't know that answer, but I can find out for you and send you tomorrow with the
Okay.
percentages. I don't know why it's not included in there. I'll find out for you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Motion to adopt?
We have a motion to adopt by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Item F, an ordinance to amend the 2023 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget to the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Dedicated Event Fund, $22,473,066. Dedicated Emergency Fund, $755,000. Dedicated Emergency Fund, $12,224,000, $24,387. Dedicated Emergency Fund, $5 million. City Court, $20,890. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion closed.
Motion to close by Mr. John Amity is second by Mr. Carl Harding. Members, vote your machines.
It don't matter which way it goes.
We have 9 yeas.
Motion adopted.
Motion to adopt by Mr. John Amity, a second by Mr. Carl Harding. Mr. Danny Babin, you have a light?
Yes, I just want to remind everybody, this is a lot of millions here. This is all money that we'll be getting back from FEMA and/or insurance. So we're not spending all that money. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Item G, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute on behalf of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government a contract of lease wherein TPCG leases from the Terrebonne Parish Recreation District Number 8, 5575 Bayou Black Drive, Houma, Louisiana, for placing a portable use on said property for use as a classroom space for the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's Head Start program. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Carl Harding, a second by Mr. Gerald Michel. Members, vote your machines. Public is closed. Motion to adopt by Mr. Gerald Michel, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Item H, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to execute on behalf of Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government a contract of lease wherein the TPCG leases from the Congregation of Our Lady of the Most Holy Rosary Catholic Church, 121 Rosary Street, Houma, Louisiana, classroom space for the use of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government's Head Start program. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Gerald Michel and a second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas. Motion to adopt by Mr. Gerald Michel and a second by Mr. Dirk Gidry. Members, vote your machines. We have 9 yeas. Motion passes. Item I, an ordinance to adopt the new FEMA flood insurance study, FIS, and flood insurance rate maps, FIRM, for Terrebonne Parish dated October 8th, 2021, and effective September 7th, 2023. Public once. We do have a public. You guys can come up. No, it's not on yet. We're going to get you on. Let me start your timer, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You can go.
Hey, hi, hello, everybody. Craig Luke, 103 Georgia Grove Drive. It's in the Grand Caillou-Dulac community. Y'all seen me here before, certain things. I've always admired what you guys have done, the challenges that you've undertaken in your life, and previous council people too. This is one time I don't envy you guys at all. When you got to make a decision like this, I know y'all are backed into a corner, and it's terrible. It truly is. My only question is, I always say strength is in numbers. The more people maybe fighting this battle for us to help us with this might have a better chance. So basically, I'm throwing a scenario out there, and some of this comes from a good friend of mine in the back had mentioned this earlier. If you vote no to this, and insurance is denied through the flood insurance program, are the banks going to stand by and allow that to happen? Or the banking system, would that be an ally that could possibly join this fight to where, might give us a little bit more strength to fight this type of a battle? I'm not going to tell you guys to vote no. I'm not gonna ask you. Y'all are going to have to make this decision, and bro, this is a tough one. There's no doubt about it. I would just be very interested to see if this would be a test case, so to speak, to exactly see how far the federal government would go. I don't want to put y'all on the spot. Y'all got to make this decision, and I'm just saying, I just want y'all all to know that whatever decision y'all make, I'm going to support y'all because I know what y'all up against. And without being redundant, I can't say a whole lot more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Mr. Dove, did you want to address that?
I'd just like to go ahead and address that. I do sit on a bank board, sir, and the banks are regulated by FDIC, so they would govern that and really put that, the banks would have to abide by the federal government. They couldn't do it on their own because we and all banks are regulated by FDIC, unfortunately, all fortunately. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the sentiment where our backs are up against the wall. Mr. Bill?
Bill Boyd, real estate broker, 338 Sugarwood Boulevard in Houma. I'd like to ask a question, and I'd like to have someone answer it that has some facts, not just an opinion or some conjecture. And that is, what is the transitional difference between the Lafourche Parish not accepting the maps at this time and Terrebonne Parish if indeed they accept the maps?
I do believe Mr. Dove has the answer. Mr. Dove, can you turn on your light?
What happened there is the same thing happened to Lafourche happened to us, except FEMA had made a technical mistake in the official journal. They filed a public notice under the paper that wasn't the official journal. So they actually got the reprieve. So FEMA has to come back and file in the official journal. So what they skated by was a technical, because they put it, I believe they put it in the Gazette when they're supposed to put it in the Comet, which is the official journal. And that's what Lafourche Parish had told me. Because I've asked that question. We were looking to see, are we doing anything wrong? And we're not doing anything wrong. I mean, this thing was started in 2009 and, actually 2008. And, of course, everything was cut off in 2019 as far as recognizing projects. So I hope that answers your question.
I have to put your mic back.
Okay, you talked about a reprieve, and I guess only FEMA knows for how long for Lafourche Parish. However, I understand, and if I'm not correct, please correct me, that if we did not accept these maps, that there would probably be an increase, though it might be modest, across the board for everyone. However, if that's the case, does anyone know how long it might be before they might pull insurance from our parish completely?
Yeah, I could.
Mr. Dove, you're still on, I'm sorry. Press it again.
Okay, I'm on? Okay. No, they could, as soon as September 7th is their option, they could pull it the next day. They could put you on probation. It's at their option. And Chris, it says, let me see, it basically says right here, FEMA will accept the submitted draft ordinance once adopted by resolution to maintain the National Flood Insurance Policy availability. The last day to adopt is September 7th. Please submit ASAP. So they can choose to cancel you. I mean, it's not a definite that you go on probation. And of course, if it's canceled, as you know, loans for property, loans for everything that requires flood insurance is out the window. So that's not a position to be in, but it's, you cannot, there's no gamble. They're telling us we will lose the flood insurance if we don't. Now remember this, Bill. We are still moving forward on the areas that the flood maps really hurt. A lot of down the bayous. We are aggressively doing the models and the storm surge models to get those under what they call a LOMA, and I think Chris will explain that a little later down the line if it comes up, to get these people down. But right now, we have to accept the flood maps. It's not an option. I wish it was, because but it's not an option.
Okay. One more.
Mr. Pulaski has a lot of really good information on this. Do you want to ask your last question? Then he may be able to fill in a lot of the blanks for us.
Okay.
Okay.
I pull up my property. My property is in North Terrebonne, is going to be an X property, and that may or may not be great. However, if I go to sell my property to VA or FHA, it could really be a problem. And I know a lot of properties are going to be in much worse condition than mine. A lot of you have already talked about all this to some of your constituents. I understand that. However, it's going to greatly affect the real estate market in Terrebonne Parish, which is a progressive and profound part of our economy in Terrebonne Parish. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that we're going down the right pathway with this at this time. And I will be speaking to Mr. Pulaski.
Chris, you want to fill us in on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so in response to the last statement Mr. Boyd made, so an X zone on the new firms is like C zones on the older maps. It's not a special flood hazard area. So his property and many others are not. But keep in mind that one of the real rubs in all this is that it's coming on the coattails of Risk Rating 2.0, which is what the state of Louisiana, 15 parishes, I think there's 8 or 9 states across the country that have filed suit against FEMA. State of Louisiana through the AG's office is one of them, and we are part of that. That's what sets the rates. That's what is raising the prices. I live in an X zone, and my flood insurance has gone from about $550 a year. It'll go eventually to $3,600 a year, and it keeps increasing. And that's happening to everybody, whether you're in a flood zone or not. Now, these new maps, I mean, you got to think about it. The changes are coming horizontally and vertically. So the horizontal changes, what was a flood zone may not be. What wasn't a flood zone may now be in a flood zone, and some no change, right? But it's also changing vertically. So your base flood elevation requirement may have been 7, and now it's 11, or it could have gone down. And then, of course, you throw in the freeboard requirement that the state of Louisiana has mandated across the entire state. So what's freeboard? That's a +1. So whatever your base flood elevation is, add another foot to that. That's for most residential structures. Now, you're talking about critical facilities, you're adding possibly 2 or even 3 feet to that. Okay, so there's a lot happening, and of course, all of this is coming after COVID, after Ida. I mean, it's just one thing after another. But just to let you know, to reiterate a little bit of what President Dove had said earlier, and I have a letter from FEMA from Rachel Sears, who's the director of the Floodplain Management Division. So this is dated July 28th of this year. Dear Parish President Dove, I'm writing this letter as an official reminder that Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, Louisiana, has until September 7th, 2023, to adopt and have the Department of Homeland Security's Federal Emergency Management Agency Regional Office approve floodplain management measures that satisfy 44 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 60.3E of the National Flood Insurance Program Regulations. Now, the letter that Gordy just read, that was in an email that came in late yesterday. So we've met that requirement. They feel that the ordinance that's before you tonight satisfies that, okay? Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government must adopt floodplain management measures such as floodplain management ordinance that meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements by September 7th, 2023 to avoid suspension from the NFIP. If suspended, your community becomes ineligible for flood insurance through the NFIP. New insurance policies cannot be sold, and existing policies cannot be renewed. And then it goes on to state more, but in the end, she concludes, in the event your community does not adopt and/or submit the necessary floodplain management measures that meet or exceed the minimum NFIP requirements, I must take the necessary steps to suspend your community from the NFIP. This letter is FEMA's final notification before your community is suspended from the program. So, I mean, that's it, right? Now, what is Terrebonne Parish doing about it? So as Gordy mentioned, we have a community LOMR that we're working on. So what is that? A letter of map revision. That's something that individuals have been doing for years, and you can do it. We have information, you have it all in front of you. This is on our website, on our social media, and one of the things that's identified is a LOMR. Basically, if you feel that there's an error, you can hire a licensed land surveyor who can go and do the elevation certificates and whatnot, and you can submit, well, the surveyor has to submit it to FEMA. And if FEMA concurs with those findings, then they'll change the maps. So Terrebonne Parish is basically doing the same thing, but we're doing it on behalf of the entire community because, as President Dove said, the cutoff point for projects was July of 2019. What's happened? Not only Morganza to the Gulf, but inside the parish, 30 pump stations, levee lifts, reaches, all of that. All of that's going to greatly impact those maps. So we're taking that step to create those new maps, run our own models, and we'll submit that to FEMA just like an individual would have done on their own. Now, that's going to take a little while to happen. I don't have a time frame. I'm sure we're talking 6 months, a year, possibly more, but we're already moving forward on that. Now, the thing that we can do to speed it up, okay, Terrebonne Parish is a big parish. Lots, on the maps, the first page is like an index page that shows all the panels. I mean, there's no point in us modeling a panel in the far southwest area of the parish that's nothing but open water or marsh. We're going to focus on the areas where where people live. You follow me? So, or could live, right? Yes. And so that'll speed up the time frame of that process. But that's already been initiated. And it's something that the parish or any jurisdiction can do at any time. I mean, FEMA will do flood map updates every 10 years. That's their goal. Of course, it came and went from 2008 to 2018. And the parish can sit back and let that happen like any municipality or jurisdiction can. And the positive of doing that is they pay for it. It's free. FEMA does it for you. But if you want to do it yourself, you have to pay for it, but you can do it as often as you like. But the costs are, I'm sure substantial. So it's not maybe something you want to do every year, maybe, if you have enough projects that are going online that make it worth a while. But we know that we have a lot of projects in the last 4 years, so we're definitely looking at doing it now. I've got a lot more to cover, but I'd rather hear from the people that are in the audience and more questions.
So we had public once, public twice. Please state your name and address, sir.
Willis Trosclair, 365 Darrelin Drive, Houma, Louisiana. And I'm not going to take it easy on y'all like Craig Luke did. I think y'all will vote against it, put their backs against the wall, Because it don't make no sense. You're going to come here one night and say, we got to do it? People can't afford the insurance anyway. So if they take it from us, what are we losing? My insurance went from $3,000 to $6,000. My house is paid for, and I paid $500 a month on a house that's paid for. So if you raise the insurance, they can't afford it anyway. People are losing their houses not because they can't pay their note, it's because they can't pay their insurance. So if they take it from us, what are we losing? So that's why I'm urging y'all to vote no. I understand the decision y'all got to make, but that's what y'all getting paid for. Y'all represent the people. It's the common people, the everyday person that's going to lose, not the investors. Because if they're investing, they got money. But I bet the people that's hard workers that's going to lose their house because they can't pay for their insurance. That's the people that y'all represent. And y'all all need to take a good look at this before voting yes. I just wish y'all vote no. Let's bring them back to the table and let's play ball with them. You got to do something for us because we cannot continue. Because me as a small business owner, I own 30 houses. I got, what do? These people can barely pay their rent now. I have to pass that on. I can't eat that because we're working on a small margin as it is. So these people won't be able to afford their rent. So what I have to do? Get them evicted? Then I have a house that's empty. So come on, let's pull the trigger on these people. Let's show them that we from Terrebonne Parish, we're from Louisiana, and we're not scared of nobody. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. Public is closed. We have a motion to adopt by Mr. Steve Trosclair and a second by Mr. John Amity. Mr. Dirk Gidry.
Mr. Pulaski, when they're doing these flood maps, do they see, when they're doing this, do they see the Morganza to the Gulf levee? Do they see our parish levees?
No, sir.
Okay, good question. Originally in 2008, no. So in 2009, we started the appeal process. And in 2011, 2012, we started the LAMP process. It's FEMA, so sorry for the acronyms, but it's Levee Analysis Mapping Procedure. That was basically our way of telling them, guys, Morganza to the Gulf exists, whether you want to put it in your computer modeling or not, but here it is. So from 2011, 2012 up to July 2019, that's what we were feeding them information. So do they see Morganza to the Gulf? Yes, they do, but it's only as good as what it was. And it was great, don't get me wrong, but that was 4 years ago, July of 2019. So there's a lot more that's been done out there since that time.
But do they recognize that we've had 2 hurricanes with the same amount of water, and that on one hurricane, 11,000 homes flooded, and on the next storm with the same amount of water, only 7 homes flooded in Terrebonne Parish? How much money that have saved FEMA? And and getting back to Willis, Willis, we Cajuns, we strong people, but let me tell you what's the problem here. Everybody that has flood insurance, if we pass this right here, they're going to lose that flood insurance, whether you want to pay it, whether you want to pay your flood insurance or not. Then the banks are going to start repossessing these houses because they got no flood insurance. They got the
banks are going to fold because they can't.
But you got to, right here, we have no choice. We have no choice in this matter. Sure, we can vote against this, but we can't vote against it because there's people that will not have, people with new homes that's paying new homes, they will not have flood insurance, and the bank can go and repossess them. And look, we had problems with homes about a few years ago nationwide, where the banks and all, they took these homes, So they're going to come over here and they're going to take these homes in Terrebonne Parish. Because let me tell you, it's not South Louisiana Bank or it's not Synergy Bank that holds these loans. When Synergy Bank or South Louisiana Bank gets these loans, they sell them off to somebody else that has nothing to do with Terrebonne Parish. So you got to understand that. It's just not South Louisiana Bank, Synergy Bank, and all these local banks. These loans are sold out to other banks where they don't care about Terrebonne Parish. All they worry is about their money. How can we vote for everybody that's paying flood insurance that's satisfied, not satisfied, or forced to pay it? Because we are being forced to pay this. There's no choice. You have to, if you want a house, or if you want to build a house, or you want to buy a house down these bayous or in the city, you got to have flood insurance. That's one of the things. So if we pass this and construction stops all of Terrebonne Parish.
If you don't pass.
If it doesn't, yeah, that's what I mean. But if it doesn't pass, home building stops in Terrebonne Parish because nobody can go to the bank and secure a loan. You know, and I understand like with rental properties and all that, you got to go up on it. Look, this gang right here, we stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's no way. You know, we could jump up on the bench and say, man, we're gonna show them, and we're not gonna vote for this. But then after we do that, all of Terrebonne Parish construction shuts down. Everything shuts down in Terrebonne Parish. Because let me tell you, we strong up here. But let me tell you what, Big Brother sitting in Washington, D.C. is stronger than us. And we have to abide by what they say. Whether we like this or not, this parish council has to pass this evening. We got no choice. If you don't pass it, flood insurance goes up $50 a month for the next 3 months. After that, they cancel us. If we have a hurricane that comes and destroys this parish, FEMA's not coming to help nobody. You know, like all these people got $30,000, $40,000. Well, guess what? FEMA's, when they get to Lafourche Parish, they might go to Lafourche Parish, but when they get to the roads coming into Terrebonne Parish, they might pass through going to another parish. They're not stopping here. So we have no choice whatsoever, but we have to pass this. Because let me tell you, if I had a choice, I wouldn't pass it. Thank you.
May I rebuttal?
Thank you, no, sir. Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Carl Harding.
I want to ask two questions, then I'm going to retain the light. Let's say I can pose this to Chris. A no vote, what, in the position that we're in, and the circumstances with the appeals that we actually have that's going to FEMA, how long you think it would take for us to recover to be in a better position?
Well, I mean, you're saying if you don't pass this tonight?
I'm just putting it out there.
Well, if you don't pass this tonight, what we're doing with the community lower is not going to matter because they could suspend us straight away. And now they talk about remedying it. Okay, if we come back and present our own maps, okay, fine. But like I mentioned earlier, it's going to take 6 months to a year the models alone take months to run in the computer. They're running all day. Those computers are running all day. So, it could be months before we have plans, models that would even be available to present to FEMA, let alone how long it takes them to go through that process. So you're talking about potentially no flood insurance for an unknown period of time.
Second question, a yes vote. Our appeal that we have, how long it would take for us to restore to a reasonable position?
It's the same answer.
Same answer, okay?
Yeah.
So we have a yes vote and a no vote.
Let me
with the same
tell you
results.
what a no vote also would result in, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jules because I would like for him to address it from the legal aspect. But in addition to mortgages, anybody who got an SBA loan, myself included, you have to have flood insurance to be in compliance with that loan. So if you don't have the ability or your flood insurance policy is null and void, now not only are you in violation of your mortgage, if you have a mortgage, but you're also in violation of that federal SBA loan. And that the SBA fine print says you have to have flood insurance for the duration of that loan. So however long the term is, that's how long you got to have it. Whether you have a mortgage or not, doesn't matter. Whether you're in a flood zone or not, doesn't matter. Again, I don't live in a flood zone, but I have to have flood insurance now because of that SBA loan. The other is going back to these maps as it relates to risk rating 2.0. Guys, the insurance would be going up just like it is, even if we weren't looking at new maps to adopt, even if we were going under the same maps, even if we'd adopted maps in 2018, we would still be faced with these ginormous insurance rate hikes because of risk rating 2.0. So yeah, that's what the lawsuit's about. And, that's not what we're here to discuss tonight, but part of that litigation involves a suspension of that sliding scale. Everybody that's grandfathered in, but you're creeping up towards that higher amount, that we're asking to put a stop to that.
And those questions
part of
are posed because part of what you said, I think the Madam Chair Lady, and you're saying that those people that went through SBA and these other programs that they have, they are even to get assistance with the elevation. If you're paying 30% of it, not only that you would actually have to pay 30%, you have to have the insurance according to the regulations. And then not only that, any heirs that you have, those heirs, if you are deceased, those that are inherit the property, they are required to actually keep that flood insurance. Other than that, it will go into the same circumstances if you're not paying anything.
Think of all those elevation programs that we've done over the past 14, 15 years, over 1,000 structures. Every single one of them has to maintain flood insurance in perpetuity, no matter who owns it. So all of them would be in default. I mean, it would be a mess. Now, the last thing I'd like to mention is, we're not alone in this. I mean, these firms are not just something that's Terrebonne Parish is having to address. I mean, every community that participates in the NFIP has firms. Now, the Congressional Research Service in January of this year issued a report to U.S. Congress. As of January 2023, over 22,000 communities in 56 states and jurisdictions participated in the NFIP, and they all have firms. So, I mean, and that risk rating 2.0, that's nationwide. Everybody's, and believe me, those folks in Los Angeles are going to wake up to that real fast.
So, as I want to conclude, everybody have a problem with insurance, and with insurances, who's the biggest benefactor that everyone can actually assume is the insurance company. FEMA across the board is going into a problem with the disasters that we actually have throughout. We have to, through our delegations and Big Papa that's off in Washington, D.C., we even have to fund, FEMA's looking for more funds. So the big culprit here is the insurance company. They abandoned Louisiana. That's who we need to be fighting with. I'm not rolling the dice with the people of Terrebonne Parish and have them with nothing. Give them an opportunity, and then we don't have to fight with mass closure and shut everything down. I think, me personally, this would give us a fighting chance. And our back is against the wall, and I will actually go to battle and lay my life down on this to actually support this, because of the fact that there are a lot of people within my district just can't afford insurance, period. So we need to be attacking the insurance company and dealing with this too, because insurance is extremely too high. So we got more than one thing that we have to fight up here. We've sent letter after letter after letter after letter, actually trying to get the appeal. That's the support we need from the people. The support we need from the people to go up here and follow perhaps what we do, the best decisions that we have up here, which is best for Terrebonne Parish, regardless of what your feelings are. Because like the gentleman up there, he mentioned a small amount for his, but then I know a guy that he has to elevate up to 14 feet. He never flooded. But he got assistance in the program that he's in the bind. Well, he'll be moving somewhere else anyway. So I just want to just put that point out there. I think that's my point on it. And I rest my case for that.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Danny Babin.
Yeah, just a couple of things. President Dove mentioned about Lafourche Parish and a technicality. This same thing is going to happen in Lafourche Parish. It's just not happening today in Lafourche Parish, all right, because of this technicality. They are no different than us, and their council is going to have to sit down in the next few months or whenever it comes up and do the exact same thing we're doing. Second thing is, with a no vote, we give ourselves no option. With a yes vote, we have a mechanism in place to try to change what's happening to us right now. If we vote no, we completely take away our option to try to change it. Because then FEMA, Big Brother, steps in and says, I'm sorry, you didn't do it. This is what's going to happen. The big banks, and Dirk alluded to that, you know, Synergy Bank and the South Louisiana Bank sell to these big people. Listen, not only in Louisiana, look, California, as you alluded to, Chris, is happening right now. The fires all around the country. Don't you think that these big banks are out there trying to lobby against this? They don't want to assume 1,000 loans in Terrebonne Parish. Multiply that and extrapolate that number out by all the counties in the parishes in this country that are being affected right now. So those big banks and those organizations, I feel, are trying to lobby our congressmen in Washington to help us out with this. They're not just sitting idle. This is not something that just happened in the last couple of weeks. This has been going on for years, and this government and the state government and the federal government, well, I'm not going to say the federal government because that's where it comes from, have been fighting this, all right? It's not that we're just laying around idle and waiting for it to pop up and say, oh, we got to vote yes tonight, or we lose our insurance. So, again, I'm anxious to hear what Jules has to say on this after our if anybody else has anything. But remember, if we vote yes on this tonight, it gives us a mechanism to try to have it changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Abear.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we have to take into consideration that FEMA is a federal emergency management program, and we're a participant in it. And when you're a participant in it, you got to play by their rules. And FEMA's, as Chris alluded to, is out the country. But let me try and break this down so as an understanding. I think there's a little disconnect between what we're passing tonight and what we're required to pass and what we're talking about insurance. So you have FEMA, and this is the firm, the Flood Insurance Maps. This has to do with elevation, how much you're going to have to elevate if you're in special hazard flood areas. Okay, that's what that deals with. What the gentleman is speaking about in insurance, and nobody's happy about it, he's correct, is a different part of FEMA. That's FEMA 2.0. And that currently is in federal court in the Eastern District in New Orleans. And the hearing, the injunction hearing will be held on, and I plan on putting this so that y'all can, I plan on putting it on the agenda next time so you can let the public know, but if anybody wants to go, I think the hearing is now reset for September 14th at 9 a.m. in the Eastern District in federal court. What the Attorney General is trying to do is get an injunction against the FEMA 2.0 rates because they have basically, on a complex matter, but basically, the federal government has changed and they want to rate insurance like insurance companies do. Instead of everybody putting in the pot and suffering the loss and there's no profits and everybody just splits the bill, they want to turn it in like insurance companies rate territorially and geographically. So what that does, shoots the rates up, okay? So that part on the insurance is in federal court, and the Attorney General, along with, I forget how many states and how many jurisdictions, are in trying to stop that. This program is not this. Okay, so this part of it is about lifting. What happens, two things I want you to consider if you don't pass it. Number one is that you got to have a basis not to pass something because we have our community that participates in it and everybody relies upon it, the bankers, everybody's loans. If we sit here and pass it tonight, don't pass it, and we have no justifiable basis to pass it, and we put everybody in default, I think that this governmental body we could be looking at you know what's gonna happen when that happens. They're gonna say, why didn't you pass it? We know we understand, we may have to lift and all that, but they're gonna say, why didn't you pass it? And then we're looking at probably major what? Litigation. Okay, so, I mean, the consequences of not passing it are tremendous, and I think Dirk really explained it well. I really do. The consequences and the depth of it. I want y'all to think of something else. Mr. Babin asked about the Conbon Bridge. We didn't have any insurance on that bridge. We depended on who to go fix that bridge. You know how many millions of dollars or that FEMA comes in after a disaster and pumps in these communities to help us and to save us? Because if not, where will we get the money from? Okay, there's millions and millions and millions of dollars in project at stake, okay, that we're dependent on. The third thing is, if you don't pass this, and Chris and I were on the phone yesterday with the gentleman Braden, discussing it with him because he was telling us, hey, your ordinance is good to go. You got to get it passed. But one of the things that he brought up about is the fact that if you do not comply with FEMA and you're not in compliance and another hurricane hits, they're not going to cover you. And so, I mean, you're taking a serious risk, okay, if you don't pass these ordinances. And those are the three things that I'm trying to put it in the frame so everybody can understand it. Is it something you like? No. Who wants to have to raise higher? Do you question the wisdom? Yes. But we do, as a civilized society, we do have an avenue to proceed, okay? It's unfortunate, but the way FEMA operates is they go for a certain period of time, they cut you off, and then they say, start over again. And so we're taking a proactive approach to that. We are not waiting until they start. We believe that in the last, since, as y'all know, the projects that have been done, and we believe now, okay, with these projects coming to their conclusion and the levies getting more and the projects that have come to conclusion in the last few years and that are concluding every day, like you know, the Elliott Jones just finished. We believe, okay, now this depends, subject to engineering, because everything is done by technical science. You just can't go tell them. When you go to the federal government, the rules and regulations and the laws are all based upon engineering and science. That's what they're looking at. So we believe that we're in the position right now that with our engineers and the people that we're hiring, that we will be able to make some adjustments to some of the panels. Okay, now, we don't have that proof yet, but we feel confident that we can. Okay, so that is in the works. Is it gonna happen overnight? No, as Chris said, no, it's not. Are we pushing? Yes, it is. We set the task orders, we've met, and Gordy gave us instructions, set it with deadlines. So our engineer, the firm that's handling it, it's in the task order. They under a deadline to work. And by the way, the engineering firm that's representing us also represents Lafourche Parish. So firms are throughout the country. We're not the only ones that deal with these issues, okay? So but I want to make that big split between rising rates, okay, what you being charged for your flood insurance and what's here tonight. It's not the same thing, okay? And I just want, so the public out there is listening. I know President Dove wants them to clearly understand that we're dealing with two different things. And I encourage anybody, if you're worried about your rates, get involved in that and pay attention what's going on, going to come up in federal court, because they're getting ready to go to war with FEMA on that 2.0. Okay? Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Aber. Mr. Michel.
Okay, I guess my question is, again, for the public's information, when we vote for this, who's affected after we pass this? Obviously this is a separate issue from the rising flood insurance, okay, costs. and it's going to change the elevations that people are going to have to build according to. And I'm asking this question because it's obvious to me anyway, I'll certainly hope that it's not, passing this is not going to cause, 8,000 people down the bayous to have to elevate their properties, okay? So I would like for you to explain that, please.
Okay, and the answer that I'm about to give and the question that you asked is a question that we get in our office all the time. So again, on our social media and on our website, our wonderful, talented folks in our IT and graphic design department put this together for us. But it tells people where to go to find out the information I'm about to tell you. So for those people, you need to first go look at the maps. You can go to our website, tpcg.org/floodplain. You can type in your address. It'll take you to your property. It'll tell you if you're in a flood zone, what flood zone you're in, special flood hazard area. It'll give you the base flood elevation requirement that you would have to build to or required to build to. And it actually goes a little bit further and it gives you the natural grade of your property. It tells you what elevation your ground level on your property. It's not survey accurate, but it gives you a good basis to start from. So somebody would need to look at that. If they are in a flood zone, they're not going to have to elevate right away, okay? Many of you may have come across this and the folks listening at home as well, watching at home as well. The 50% rule. I mean, you're grandfathered in at the elevation that you are, and you can stay that way. But if you make repairs to your home or improvements to your home that are worth more or that cost more than 50% of the value of the structure, and this applies to businesses too, not just residences, then you would have to elevate to whatever the new base flood elevation requirement is, +1 or +2, because don't forget the new freeboard that went into effect in August. But it's not something that everybody will have to do immediately. There's that grandfathered in component. And if you have questions, or the folks from the public have questions, they can call our permit office and ask to speak to one of our floodplain administrators. The number is 985-873-6567. So they can walk them through it.
So barring a disaster to someone's home that would devastate it with 50% or more, no one would ever have to elevate any higher than they are now. Barring a disaster, they wouldn't have to. If they choose to add on to their home, then that might be a different story. Is that correct? Or
there's always going to be a trigger mechanism, right? So you mentioned addition. Any addition or new construction is going to have to be at the new elevation, right? +1 or +2 or whatever. The grandfathered in, the 50% rule also applies to any improvements made to a structure. So if you make renovations to your home and those renovations cost more than 50% of the value of the home, you also have to elevate. So, but I mean, in most instances, renovations aren't 50% of the value of the home, right? So, and then, FEMA also looks at it cumulatively over a 10-year period. So that's something that, the parish is tasked with tracking. So if you, make improvements, then, a storm comes along, you got to watch those numbers. So that's.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And really, honestly, and I say this with the greatest respect, I wish this council would have had as much notice on these issues as administrations had. I wish we'd have known about the severity of this long before 2.5 weeks ago. Thank you.
Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, just one point of information. Chris, the information here is the actual new guidelines that FEMA put, that we're required
The new
to follow.
maps?
The new mapping.
Yes, sir.
So, and whatever we're showing up on our website reflects the new mapping.
The web link on our webpage goes to the LSU Ag Center's flood map site.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, just one other question to go along with what you two guys just said. And I'll use Mr. Boyd came up and he used the designation of an X zone, all right? Whether we pass this or not, that property is still going to be in an X zone, all right? If we don't pass it, we don't have the option to try to change that. But if we do pass it, we have the option to change that. We have an ability, I should say, not the option, an ability to be able to change it. So if we want to write it off right now, we vote no, okay? And just say, no, this is South Louisiana, we're going to do what we want to do. Well, we're putting a lot of people in jeopardy. But if we pass this, we do have the ability to try to change that. Because FEMA has already said, this is the maps. And you need to accept them. If you don't, then this is what it still is. That elevation is not going to change on FEMA. But if we say no, we can't even go back and question or try to change it. So again, for me, it's a no-brainer. Thank you.
Mr. Aber.
Just as a point of matter, just so you know, just if something was to happen, just think after the storm, how we were all dependent on FEMA to come in and how to take care of those that didn't have and to set up these tent cities and find places to live and all this. That's how important this program is. Okay, what I'm saying, if you bail out, you have nobody to call on.
Thank you. Any other lights? No. And I have a few things I want to add to the conversation. In the 4 years since we've been sitting up here and we were elected by the people of Terrebonne Parish, this is probably one of the difficult decisions that we've been faced with is to do this. And none of us really wants to do this. But we all fight for our communities, and we fight for our communities every single day. And we fought FEMA by voting to go into that lawsuit against 2.0. So we joined that. We as a council sat up here and we all supported that. And that's how we're fighting for Terrebonne Parish. But I will not sit up here and vote no for this and crush Terrebonne Parish's economy. That is not a decision that I'm going to make today. And so I want to go ahead and make this vote. We do have a motion and a second. Members, vote your machines. We have 8 yeas, 1 nay by Mr. Darren Guidry. Motion passes. Item J, an ordinance to declare as surplus adjudicated property located at 111 Montague Street in which Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government has 99.45 interest and to acquire authorization to dispose of said property in accordance with Louisiana Revised Statute 47:2196. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. Darren Guidry. Members, vote your machines. Motion to adopt by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. John Amity. Members, vote your machines. 9 yeas, motion passes. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Mr. John Amity, second by Mr. Carl Harding. Members, vote your machines.